Our gospel reading this morning is from Matthew 9:35 to 10:4. And by the way, this is the first part of a longer story that I'll be talking about in the sermon. Then Jesus went about all the cities and the villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." Then Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to cure every disease and every sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, also known as Peter, and his brother Andrew. James, son of Zebedee, and his brother John. Philip and Bartholomew. Thomas and Matthew the tax collector. James, son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus. Simon the Canaanian, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. This is the word of the Lord. Today's gospel lesson gives us a virtual blueprint for putting our mission as a church into practice. And it gives us even a helpful blueprint for individual people of faith practicing their Christian faith in the world as they live their lives. So what is this blueprint? I just want to share it with you this morning. Jesus identified, first of all, a problem in the community. He was observing that people felt harassed and helpless, like lost sheep without a shepherd. He identified a problem. Well, we, yesterday, in our retreat, this was representatives from all the churches in our Presbyterian neighborhood. We had conversation, and it turned out that we identified some problems that we all focused on. And one of the problems was hunger. And so that led to discussion of how we might address that problem collaboratively and grow in our giving. Now, there are many problems in the world around us, and we cannot, can't deal with all of them at once, can we? Why not? That would be very paralyzing. We just don't have enough resources to deal with everything all at once. All right, so we identified a specific problem in a specific location. And that's good advice for all of us in our own personal lives too. You know, we might have several problems in our lives or issues to deal with, but you can't deal with them all at once. Maybe you need to say, okay, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to deal with that now. Otherwise, you're not empowered. All right, so what did he do? Well, he had compassion for all these folks who had a problem. And so he devised a plan to help them. What a good idea. How did he do that? Well, he gathered his disciples and told them that he wanted them to help the people. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So the disciples are given this job to do. And I was thinking, if I were them, I might have been a little anxious about this. They're used to accompanying Jesus and learning from Jesus, and Jesus is doing all this amazing healing and teaching around. Not them. But now he's telling them to go out. And so what does he do? First of all, he gives them authority to do this. Authority to help the people. And to help them in the same way that he did. And then he gave them instructions on how to proceed. You know, in life, how many times do we identify a difficulty, but then never figure out how to resolve it? You know, and this is especially true in the church. You know, if you want to learn how to be a gardener, or to be a baker, or how to repair your kitchen sink, probably you get some kind of instruction. And then you follow the instruction. It's the same in our lives and in the church. We identify issues, maybe really positive issues. And did you know that out there in the world there are so many instructions for us if we will just take advantage of them? All right. So, what was the first instruction? He had several instructions. First of all, he gave them a target audience. Don't go to the Gentiles right now. Don't go to the Samaritans right now, but just to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. These folks I've identified who are harassed and helpless. Wise advice. Again, you can't deal with everything all at once. Remember Lucy telling her little brother Linus, you know, look at my fingers. Individually they're not much, but boy, when they're all together, they're fists. They're powerful, right? Well, there's another part about the fist too. If each finger is a problem or an issue that needs addressing, but they're all together and you feel overwhelmed, and you're trying to deal with all of them, you're paralyzed. But you deal with one thing at a time, you're empowered. So, Jesus narrowed down the focus to something manageable, and it was empowering. All right, so then what did he do? What's the next instruction? In the next instruction, Jesus told them the main message to communicate to the lost sheep. Proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near. That was always Jesus' main proclamation. Repent, because the kingdom of heaven has come near. And that is good news for people, especially if they're in a bad way. We need God's nearness, not God's distance. And there are ways in which we can proclaim that message daily in our lives. Just think for a moment, how can I proclaim the message, the kingdom of heaven, God has come near? Is it not in our behavior toward others and toward ourselves? You get angry and you just want to lash out or react or stalk away. But instead, in spiritual growth, we learn to stop and reflect and say, wait a minute, what's the proclamation here? Sometimes we are witnesses to this good news of God's presence by our behavior and by our growth in behavior. Third instruction, Jesus told them to put their money where their mouth is. He told them to help the people in hands-on ways. You see, the sick, they don't have any doctors. We need to organize and get them some medical help. You see the dead in hopelessness, we have some good news for them. You see some people who are outcasts, we need to welcome them into community. We don't just give a message, we live it out. And we all, this week, see if you can identify some way that you can put your money where your mouth is about the faith. See if you can do a kindness for someone. Now, the fourth instruction. He told them what provisions to take with them. Good advice. But it's surprising. Just take the clothes on your backs. Leave your credit cards at home. No extra cash. No extra clothes. No extra shoes. Don't even take a staff to walk with. Instead, when you enter a town, when you enter Arundecote or Rochester, find someone who is worthy. That is, someone who will listen to your message and accept you, and stay with that person. They will help care for you. Laborers deserve their food. And then in the fifth instruction, Jesus went into detail about how to behave with their hosts and households. In his essence, he said, be very gracious. And then he told them how to behave with people who are hostile to them. We're always going to run into some hostility, are we not? So if they won't listen to your message, don't argue and fight back. Just shake the dust off your feet and be on your way. We're not going out to help people and then get in fights. Let God judge the other person or the other group. Then in the sixth instruction, Jesus gave them a warning. Since you will encounter some hostility, be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. And is that not good advice for all of us every day of our lives? And again, it requires an ongoing journey of spiritual growth. We are not automatically wise as serpents. Some people may think that they are, but they may not be. And some people are all innocents, and that gets them into trouble too. Be wise as serpents and innocent as a dove. And finally, in those times when you may be in some trouble, encountering some resistance, some hostility in your life or in your mission, don't worry about what you are to say. And this is a toughie, isn't it? God's Spirit will give you the words that you need. Again, good advice in daily living as it is in the church's mission. Don't worry about what you're to say. God's Spirit will give you the words that you need. The first time I really heard that advice, I was a teenager in church camp that I went to every year, and I had these friends that I would sit with, and we were in an assembly. And so there was this preacher that we had known for several years, and we really liked him. He was giving this presentation about church vocations. And he talked about preaching and ministry, and he said essentially this: don't worry about what you're to say. God's Spirit will give you the words that you need. Well, being a very shy teenager, I wasn't really trusting that. And actually, when I started ministry, started preaching many, many years ago, I could not say one single word that wasn't written down. I was not trusting God's Spirit at that point. I mean, I was right there. Now I know but I grew out of that to some degree. I still want to have the trusty notes down here, you know. But and that doesn't mean, now some people have the gift of gab, you know, and so they don't worry what they're going to say. It's just going to flow out. But that's not what Jesus is talking about. So, follow the Lord's instructions for living out your faith in daily life. And let us all together follow the Lord's instructions for proclaiming the good news in the community in which we live and in all the world. Amen.